My name is Doug, and this is Leaving the Dream. On October 5th, 2021, Hawaii's very own Sam Kapoi was sentenced to 18 years behind bars in a federal prison. With only 4 days left as a free man, Sam sat down with me in an exclusive 4-hour interview that you can only find right here on Leaving the Dream. This is Sam's only interview, and he holds nothing back. So here's Sam's story in his own words.
Oh, from the ashes I will rise. No satisfaction without the fight. A man has limits, oh, so they say, but I'll never listen. Did it my way. I'm gonna take what's mine, I paid my dues. I dare you to walk a mile in these shoes. The beat in my soul just keeps getting louder. Give me some of that
I have an off-island perspective, right? Like, I'm born and raised in Detroit. I moved to Hawaii, become a police officer. I'm there for 7 years. And then I moved back with my family. My Patreon is full of local people. And you get Hawaiians who join because I talk about things that happen in Hawaii. Typically like organized crime, you know what I mean? The gangland killings in the 70s, 80s. We did the Sunny Sky Shady Characters, and Gary Diaz has a book that we go through. And so I got a lot of people that go back, and they're all connected, and it's usually their family. So my Patreon is basically about their families. So I'm talking about their families. They asked some questions. Kanani, one of my Patreons from day one, she had kind of the biggest question. She said, ask him how he grew up, his influences in young age, his role models, how he got to where he is now. As a Kanaka Maoli myself, your influence in Hawaiian movement was crucial. She asked, are you claiming responsibility for distributing a destructive drug to your own people while deceiving the movement in nefarious activities? She said, my heart breaks for my people, my ohana, my own brother who deals with drugs. She said, this disease has affected our pure hearts and our beautiful aina. How do you respond coming from Pono and Na'au? Thank you, and I hope you the best. I'm not mad at you. We all make bad choices. And she says, if he apologized, I'm just wondering if he realized at the time the scope of his actions or the domino effect it causes, and if he plans on changing this into a positive somehow, coming from a humble Hawaiian. She said, aloha nui. So basically, I think what she's saying is, like, what's the plan now? How, as a Hawaiian, who's someone who takes like responsibility and pride in who you are and your responsibility in Hawaiian culture and the Hawaiian people, like, what do you do from here? Because you don't give up, and you haven't, and you're not a quitter, I can tell. Where do you go from here? Like, what's the plan?
Oh, that's some heavy one. There's been a lot of stuff going around, you know what I mean? You've seen it, and I've tried to avoid, because there's so much just hatred and just no understanding or whatever, you know what I mean? But once upon a time, I was a heavy advocate against it, but because of that, experiences and being invited to what is her name, Lee Cataluna's thing back, what year is that? Probably like 2002 or something. She had this ICE epidemic interview thing with high school kids, and the youngest guy there was like probably like 13 or 14. I think it was a girl, and she was already using. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of crazy. Like, I'm there about 15, 16. Like, that's one of my peers, and I'm like, what? Like, you don't even look like you're doing that kind of stuff, like, because I see the chronics on the side of the road, For everybody that doesn't know, chronics is the term we use for like the people using drugs and whatnot, see on the side of the road. But anyway, like, you see that type of characteristics, and the girl didn't show that, as young as she was. But yeah, it was kind of crazy being a part of all those things. And I'll be transparent. There's even a campaign we did in high school about with HMSA called Life or Meth, I think it was called. It's on my YouTube. There's PSAs that we did about it, and some of the actors later told us that they were their parents were users, so they kind of knew the drill. It was just easy for them to act it out, like when we was filming, and we didn't know, you know what I mean? It was just picked random people from the school. But
and you said it's on your channel.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's still there.
If it's on your channel, I'll leave a link right here for everybody if you want to go see it.
But yeah, being that advocate and then eventually being a hypocrite, I guess you can say, like it fucking sucks. You know what I mean? And I'm not too sure how, when I get there to my facility, I can continue the work that I've done. But I'm for sure will probably figure it out. You know what I mean? To Hokupaa KA, perpetuate. But like she said in the beginning, like my whole life wasn't fake at all. You know what I mean? The whole movement, real deal. And up into that point where I think people is like really trying to like make like I was faking the funk or whatever it was to like sell dope to our people.
Right.
But like that wasn't like the point. Like I wasn't going up to the mountain and be like, hey, take this Batu Mauna guys, like I'm gonna destroy them.
Right.
It's a whole different group of people.
Yeah. You weren't doing hokulea so that you could get clout and then go sell.
Right, like this, or transport shit, or none of that shit. Like that's all that made up stories is ridiculous.
Right, and that's why she says, "How did he get where he is now from there?"
No, for sure.
And I think you explained that in the video.
Yeah, and I understand. Like even the judge asked, like how does someone get so much exposure, experience, mentors, all that stuff, right? Success, and then end up here. Hey, cut me, same person, right? Blood, human, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, as simple as you can put it, fucking human. And I just got knocked down, bro. Like that's just the truth, and desperate for what I needed in that moment, that I made an irrational decision like that, or irrational, I should say. And yeah, I just made that choice, really. And it wasn't any just to clear that up, wasn't no selfish anything about this whole thing, right? It was just to get money to pay for certain stuff. You know what I mean? That's all it was, specifically debt. And so then you're going to get, I'll get hit with the question like, oh, is it worth hurting your own people, et cetera, et cetera? Of course not. I mean, that's a simple answer. But then at the same time, like I did what I did that I felt that I had to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And again, I wasn't forcing anything upon nobody. It was consensual people that wanted this shit and whatever, like not saying it's good.
Right.
But that's just what they wanted. You know what I mean? And I provided it. And so, of course, it's a shitty feeling, and I feel bad that I even got knocked down to this point. I let myself get knocked down to this point. But it happened. You know what I mean? And it's a human thing for, I don't know, be vulnerable at one point in my life that felt like that's the only thing I had. Like, it's a hard thing because it's like, whether it's pride or ego that gets in the way, that doesn't want to ask for help, reach out, I don't know. And then, it was just weird. Like right before COVID and all the shit show happened, it was like, that was the zone, like, I couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, couldn't tell you why or how or whatever, but that's just from my perspective how things have really happened.
My next question is from Shauna. She said, "I would say what he did was disappointing, but that I and most that know him or know about him know at the end of the day Sam Kapoi is human and made a bad decision. Sam has taken responsibility in what he participated in and asked the community for forgiveness. I personally have no ill feeling toward him. Matter of fact, I only wish him love and safety. I just wished his sentence wasn't so long. I still can't understand how the Kealoas basically got a slap on the hands for all the crimes they committed. And then you got Sam. Shake my head. Again, I wish Sam only love and pray for his safe journey home. And most of all, sending love and prayers to his boys." That I think that is the overwhelming response that I got from most people, Sam.
For sure.
I do think that we all have a duality. We can be good and do bad things. And it doesn't make you bad.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a gray area like drugs. Because drugs aren't inherently wrong. Right? Like naturally, they're not wrong. They're wrong because it's the law.
Right.
But people take drugs every day that are legal and more harmful.
Right.
Right? How long was marijuana illegal
Mm-hmm.
in most states? It still is in plenty states.
Yeah.
So it's a weird situation. And but I have seen how horrible it is and how it destroys lives.
For sure.
But it's not just the drugs, right? And there's other things happening there. So I think that people get drugs are a gray area. What's the difference between that and the oxycodone that your doctor prescribed you that you got addicted to, and now you're shooting heroin? I mean, that's real and it happens every day. So, and then methamphetamine was given to people. Like it wasn't always illegal like it is. So, and there's methamphetamines that are not illegal right now.
Isn't it Adderall and whatever?
Yeah, we give them to kids. Kids get methamphetamine prescribed to them. So, like, it's touchy that it's with drugs. But then, even if it was something black and white, like hurting someone, punching someone in the face, right? You could be a good person and punch somebody in the face in a moment of anger or whatever, and you did a bad thing, and you should get punished for that, or there should be justice. Justice is important. Right. And so I think everyone feels like justice is important. No one's saying drug dealing is good or okay. We know how bad it is. We know what it does to people, but it's like everyone feels like Sam's a good dude who got wrapped up. The problem is because you got caught, no one will ever see that you were going to quit, right? For all they know, you're just saying what you got to say, and you only quit because you got caught, right? We don't have evidence of that. So that's got to be frustrating for you because you're like, I'm giving you my word, but everyone's like, yeah, everybody's the guys who were going to keep dealing said the same thing you said. And that's what sucks about it, right? And that's what burns you a little bit because it's like they all said the same thing.
Prove it, right? Yeah.
Right. One of my patrons, Pamela, said, "What from his past does he want the general public to remember about him the most? Why?" And she says, "What are some of the future hopes for himself?" And I think you explained with Kalo Bombs and with business and you to keep doing that thing, which is more than a business, right? I mean, there is a cultural community aspect to what you do.
Yeah.
So what do you want the general public who are coming of age in a decade that you will be in prison and won't see Sam Kapoi as the face of Kalo Bombs or Sam Kapoi from Hokulea? Like we all have that. We have this reference in our head of Sam Kapoi because we always heard of you. People who don't, like kids, right, that are 10, 11 years old who are about to start learning about things on the news and whatever, they're not going to hear about Sam Kapoi. So those people who don't know who you are, when they hear about you, what do you want your legacy to be for them for the next 15 years until you reemerge?
Oh. I'd like for people to remember me for the advocacy, that's part of it. At least that's one part of it, of our culture, our people.
And what does that mean? What are you advocating? What do you want people to know about your people?
It's over 200 years of just craziness, you know what I mean, that happened. And so what we've been doing is trying to recover, I guess, or reverse all that bad that has happened from being overthrown, right? And because once you take away the language, you take away the arts, you take away the music, you take away the culture, you just kill an entire race. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just normal colonization. You know what I mean? And so the stuff that I've been a part of, whether it's in the language, the arts, and in arts, I'm talking about, navigation and sailing and whatnot. That's just one of them. But all the stuff that I have been a part of, I just would want people to hold on, and continue to persevere and just preserve what we can, and then hold to grow and continue to grow from the stuff that we know from our past, because our kupuna had a wealth of knowledge, and that's one thing I know for sure, that while I'm away, that I can study up more on whatever books available, that will allow me and give me time for that. But people here, like, I would just hope they continue what I've tried to do all this time, and just it's really not about me, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to think of it like that, like, to remember me, right, and what I've done. Like, it's just remembering or continuing, our culture. That's really what it is. And even if you're not Kanaka, right? Like, living here, like in the kingdom days, it was just like any other country. Like, if you're a citizen of this country, then be down for the country. You know what I mean? Like, for the people, because this is our place. Like, just respect and continue what we've been trying to do all these years. So, that's what I would hope is coming back to a greater, quote unquote, nation, right, of our people in Hawaii. So because like the future question that she was asking was like part of the company, right, is like creating branches that would be from mountain to ocean, that impacts the ecosystem, and of course in a good way, to replenish a lot of stuff that is currently not here. So that's another thing, is pressing for water to be released so it can touch the ocean, because that is a natural way of how our ecosystem works. That's just how it goes. And the reason why there's so much bad stuff, because natural stuff is being blocked. So why not just try whatever, you know what I mean, that system, and see how it works. You know what I mean? How much better a place could be, right? But that's kind of my goals in the future is to see that through, where we can provide more economical, jobs and outlets here, especially in Waianae. That's kind of the larger goal, is growing Kalo Bombs into this multi-branch organization. So that deals with land, ocean. Because of my sailing background, like having our own canoe in Waianae, that's all part of it in my grand plan. because if the mountains is healthy, ocean gonna be healthy, and vice versa. So yeah.
Pam C, I answered a partial of her question, but she did want to say thanks to Sam for reaching out to Doug and being willing to Zoom and answer our questions. And then Marissa asked, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self? And I guess this extends to the youth of Hawaii, because if you're talking to your younger self, you're talking to other Hawaiians that grew up like you grew up. And I don't mean the youth of the world, the youth of the mainland. I'm talking Kavika and Waianae.
Yeah.
What's your advice to them?
I would say, well, what I tell my sons, you know, because they're 14 and 7, is that the key is in the language. Like it's a riddle, but that's how simple it is. It's like if you study stories from our past, there's a lot of stuff that can be unraveled. You know what I mean? Like there's so much secrets in our old newspapers and in our our Proverbs books, right? That tell the secret of how to live in harmony. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just one way of living, right? Because nowadays we're just forced into this Western world of living and providing and money and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, to be balanced, I guess, mentally, spiritually, that would be one, even physically, that would be one part, is like looking more into the language to find the key, the truths, to live here, right? And then like, because of this situation, like, don't sell drugs. Like, how simple can that be, right? Like, fucking don't even do it. It's ridiculous. It's not worth it. And I know firsthand now. I mean, I heard that shit all my life, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, don't do drugs. Don't sell drugs. And now with this firsthand experience, like, I can honestly say that. You know what I mean? Like, wholeheartedly. Like, bro, it's not worth it. Like, and then, you know, I of course I could break them down, like I said earlier. But truly, it's not worth it. Like, time is the most valuable thing that you can ever have, because you can't get it back, ever. That's what kills me the most, you know, with this whole situation, is not having that time with my kids, you know, that being stripped away. So that was probably the roughest part of the whole sentencing. So just don't do it. And then, you know, I share this quote a lot from one of my mentors, Jim Rohn. He told me once, like, he told me the same wind blows on us all. Like, I tell this to my kids all the time. And of course, because of my sailing background, it matches like perfectly. So the same wind blows on us all. The wind of disaster, the wind of hurt, sorrow, pain. The same wind blows on us all. And all their cousins, right? The greatness, the triumph, the wins, and all the great winds, the same wind blows on us all. But what determines our destination is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. And so that's something I always try to leave with people whenever I do speeches at schools and whatnot. Because the set of the sail is critical. And you could have the same wind blowing on us, and one guy can go left and one guy can go right. You know, and I've sailed both directions in my life so far. You know what I mean? For a long time, I was on a long, good tack. made a bad tack, and I'm right here. You know what I mean? It was a short one, and it was a kind of shitty one. So that lesson hits even harder, you know.